we want to give our condolence as a whole, as a city, but personal condolence from me to the families of those who are the victims. I know that you remember 2015 when we had a rash of innocent victims of children as young as, I think one was an infant, right. One was, I think, 4 or 5 years old, and then there was another that was juvenile. And one thing that we've learned from that was that even the street has its limits and things that they won't tolerate. And as a result of a lot of information coming from the community, we were able to resolve those crimes then. And we're looking for the help of the community, and they've already been very, very helpful to us as we are moving forward in this investigation. You know, the street has a lot of activity, and the average person who just deals with life really doesn't recognize it, but there's a lot of activity on the street. And it has its own culture and its own sense of street justice, I call it, and they call it. But there is a point when you've just gone too far. And so we are saying to those who have perpetrated not only this crime, but the other crimes resulting in the death of innocents this year, as we did in 2015, that it will not be tolerated, and that they will be found, they will be arrested, and they will be prosecuted. So I'm going to turn this over to the chief. He'll have some information. He'll be followed by the county prosecutor, Mr. O'Malley, and then we'll have Lieutenant Pillar from Homicide give you some, as much detail as he can give you at this time. All right?
Thanks, Mayor. As the Mayor stated, our condolences definitely go out to all the families that have lost loved ones to violence in the city, not just this year, but in past years. The Mayor also stated that, you know, we're not going to rest on this. We're going to make sure that the people responsible for this are brought to justice. And when this incident happened last night, we got together with all of our other safety partners. The FBI was also out there assisting on the scene, along with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, along with the other members of the division that respond to things that happen like this. So I want to thank them for their assistance. And also to let folks know that we haven't stopped on this. All those folks are still out there looking. We're still asking for the public's help in identifying the video that we put out last night and some of the still photos that depict 2 males. Those are persons of interest that we definitely need to identify in this matter. We know there are also other folks that are involved in this that weren't identified that currently we don't have video on, but we're working to get that. But whether we have video on those folks or not, there are people out there that know them and that know they're involved. So we need those phone calls. Either call our homicide unit at 623-5464, 623-5464, or call our communications center at 621-1234 and give us that information, and we'll get it to our guys on the ground so that we can act on it. There is a reward, and I'll have Prosecutor O'Malley talk a little bit about that. There's a $10,000 reward for any information on this case and Shania Nicholson's homicide. And we, you know, the Mayor talked a little bit about 2015. We went through a series of tragic events with kids losing their lives in our city. We don't want that repeated. At that time, the public stepped up and gave us the information necessary to get those folks off the streets, and we're asking for them to do that again. So I want to continue to make that plea. We're in the early stages of this investigation. There's a lot of work to be done, a lot of folks to be identified, a lot of suspects and witnesses. So we need your help. You know, send that information to us so we can act on it and bring some closure, at least to this family. The Mayor also talked about Mr. Yuma, that was tragically killed this past weekend. We need information on that homicide also. So send us this information so we can get these people off our streets. I'm going to bring up Prosecutor O'Malley, and he'll talk a little bit about the investigative process.
Thank you, Chief. I also want to offer my condolences to the family of Sanaya Nicholson. I have the utmost confidence that the individuals who are responsible for this senseless homicide will be quickly brought to justice. And in this case, and in all cases, the Cleveland Police Department is working diligently to solve these crimes. And as I said, I have no doubt that they will quickly be brought to justice. But as I stand here today, I kind of feel like President Obama felt when he used to talk about school shootings and the frustration that he felt that these senseless homicides continue to occur in our city and in our country. And I just want the public to know that we, as law enforcement partners, the mayor as a city, the Cleveland Police Department, and all our law enforcement partners are working diligently to put an end to this senseless violence. We will no doubt apprehend these individuals, and they will be prosecuted to the furthest extent of the law. And again, to me, as your county prosecutor, it's about keeping our neighborhoods safe and keeping our children safe, and we will continue relentlessly on that mission.
Thank you. Lieutenant.
Good afternoon. I want to first start by thanking the members of the media for their assistance last night. I know that we pushed out some information and asked you to generate that information to the public. You did, and that was huge in bringing us to the point of the investigation we're at right now. So I want to officially thank you for that. Also, the public. We have received numerous tips, and we need more, but the public has been helping, and we need that continued support from the public right now. As you know, this incident occurred around 7:15 yesterday evening. I can't go into a lot of detail. I can tell you that Shania and her mom were running errands, and Shania was with her sister in the vehicle while her mom ran to take care of some business when some type of an altercation erupted between two groups. Individuals were shooting at each other across the roadway, and Shania lost her life. This investigation has been going on since it occurred last night. I've been working with members of the 4th District Detective Bureau and zone car personnel since 4 o'clock this morning. The effort being put in this investigation is it's a great deal of effort being put into it. We do it with all of them, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that when it happens to children, it strikes a chord within all of us. Right now, we're still asking for the public's help. I know the chief mentioned calling 623-5464. That's the number to the homicide unit. I also want to encourage people to call Crime Stoppers at 25-CRIME. I'm not in the office right now, and several of my detectives are out on the road working this case right now. So you might not reach us there, but please reach out to Crime Stoppers as well at 25-CRIME. I can't go into details about the investigation. I can tell you that I feel comfortable with where we're at in the investigation right now. I'm looking to get out of here so I can continue some things that we have going. And I want to see if there are any questions from you guys, but I can't answer a lot of questions right now. We're very early in this investigation. I also want to piggyback on the chief that both the FBI, the ATF, the Detective Bureau, and the 4th District and zone car personnel, as well as the prosecutor's office, have been of great assistance to us in this investigation so far.
Questions?
When you say that you've gotten a lot of phone calls about assistance, break that down for us a little bit more in terms of what kind of phone calls, what kind of information are you looking for?
Well, we've identified some witnesses who were there who've cooperated. Other people who were witnesses have just called and says, hey, I was there. I want to come in and tell you what I saw. Of course, we put out some images of persons of interest. We've been getting information in regards to those individuals. I couldn't say that we've got them positively identified yet, but we've got something to work with.
Tonight is the second child shot and killed this week. What's your message to people that say police need to do more to keep our kids safe?
We do need to do more. Not just in Cleveland, but across the country. We do need to do more. Anytime a child is killed, it speaks to our society right now. So unequivocally, we have to do more. We have to do better.
And if I may add, I don't think this is just what the police needs to do, is what all of us need to do. If we look at crime, particularly violent crime, and we look for it to be solved just by the police, it won't happen. This has to be a community effort. And that is why in these type of instances where innocent life is lost, we find that the community really does step up. And they help us, and they help the police department do their job and do it in a very efficient and effective way and bringing justice and closure to these kinds of things. But it is an overall effort that comes out of every pillar and every aspect of our society if we're going to really address the issue of violence and particularly violence with guns.
As we get into summer, and now that we've had these two cases this week, are there changes or things that you plan to do differently in terms of patrol or how you look at some of these communities where you've seen violence, especially with more people outside, the chance that maybe this kind of...
Well, we have I'll let the police answer from their side. We have some things that we are doing that we are looking to do on the preventive side. And those things are things that do take time because we're addressing the individual cause of why someone engages in crime. And we're focusing a lot of activity in recreation centers and other outreach with Peacemakers Alliance and attempting to quell beefs and arguments between certain groups and things like that. So we're doing a lot on the prevention side, the intervention side, and then we're doing the police side, the enforcement side. We're not just doing enforcement believing that that's going to solve the problem. It's not. You have to do prevention, you have to do intervention, and then you have to do enforcement. So, Chief, you can tell them.
Sure. We always adjust our patrol tactics and our initiatives based on seasons, based on things that happen out there, and just based on, overall trying to make sure we kind of keep people off balance. There is a summer deployment plan that we'll talk about a little bit on Friday. And each district commander has their resources dedicated to be in compliance with that summer enforcement plan, as well as our special operations folks and our special investigative folks. But as the mayor stated, that's only one piece of the pie. If our community is not out there giving us information before a shooting happens, then we're just enforcing things on the back end. This incident, from what we gathered, started earlier. Before shots were actually fired. So if people give us a phone call when a group of kids are engaged in activities that's going to lead to gunfire, if there are fights and things like that and arguments and social media stuff that's going on, that's being sent to everybody out there. If we can get a call before the shots are fired, then we can prevent a tragedy like this. So it's not just our enforcement efforts and how we staff up and how we deploy, it's about getting that information before a tragedy happens.
And if I may ask, it just came to my mind, I think, what was it, 10 days ago, we had a press conference.
Yes.
And we had a press conference with FBI, DEA, ATF, U.S. Marshal's Office, our State Highway Patrol, our specialized units, and they were worked in a partnership in a collaborative way to take the state parole board. Yes. Parole officers were out. And as a result of that, there were many people arrested and violated for parole for possession of guns. And I forget the number of guns that were seized, but there were displays of it at the press conference. And then there were a number of arrests that were made. All these things are concentrated effort that law enforcement does on an everyday basis. Everyday basis. And that's a new initiative. It is not new that we partnership, but it was a very focused initiative, really targeted based on what we wanted to deal with. In this case, people who had demonstrated that they were violent and that they committed violent crimes, and how do we check up on them, and how do we ensure that they don't continue that way. So the police do a lot of stuff, but that didn't stop this, did it? No, it didn't. This is a community effort. And it deals with all aspects of our community that has to be involved in order to deal with those things that deals with the symptom. What is the cause of crime and what are the causes of violent crime? And those are the things that we can only deal with as a community.
Mr. Mayor, how do you fight the prevalent attitude that snitches get stitches? A lot of folk don't understand that if they turn on somebody who's doing this, they're being a good citizen rather than...
Well, I'll quote the chief of police. The chief of police says that a snitch is when two criminals tell on each other. When someone is a community person who is not involved in criminal activity gives good information, they're just being a good citizen. They're not a snitch. Now, the fear or the repercussions of that, that's another question. That's another question. But as you can see, when the general public believes and knows that you've crossed a line, such as in this case, and such as happened in 2015, then that thing about snitch and repercussion doesn't matter, does it? They step up. And that's what's happening now, and it happened in 2015.
Chief, you said there was something about a brawl that led to this, or a fight or something?
No, I didn't say there was a fight, Adam. I said that from what we can gather, there were some interactions that could have that led to this incident happening. There were some interactions that weren't, all nice and friendly. If we had gotten a call on that and officers had responded and showed up just to see what was going on, maybe this wouldn't have happened. Or maybe it would. But my point is, there are a lot of things that happen in our community every day that people know are going to lead to violence. That people know there's a person carrying a weapon that's walking up and down our streets. There's a person on social media that's threatened a person that has a weapon that's going to try to carry that out. If they give us that information, we can probably prevent that tragedy.
And that's what happened then. There were people on social media threatening each other.
And it's again, I'm not going to get too much into the investigation, but a lot of times when these things happen, there's a precursor. There are things that lead up to it. People don't just walk down the street and pull out a gun and shoot a person for no reason. So there are things that lead up to it via social media or face-to-face. And if people are observant of those things, if people see that social media chatter, then they need to let us know so that we have investigators and undercover folks and our federal partners, our county partners that can intervene in these things if we get the information in time. And that's the point I was trying to make.
That's pretty much all we have to say. As I stated before, we'll be updating on the QA and we'll get those 911 calls soon.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.